Hi, this is Dan Collins coming to you live from Traders Expo Chicago. I'm joined by Dan Gramza, a longtime market analyst who looks at both the fundamental and technical side. And the story for the last year has been trade wars and tariffs. And we still don't know if there's going to be a deal with China, but the tariffs and the negotiations affect a lot of different markets, don't they, Dan?
Boy, they sure do, Dan. They affect it in two ways. One's the reality of something changing because of those tariffs, but also the perception of what they represent. You know, if you think about it, we've had this issue with these tariffs now for a while, right? But our stock market really hasn't fallen apart. If you look at some of our fundamentals, manufacturing-wise and other references that you and I can look at, they may be a little softer, but no dramatic changes that we see there. But I think some markets are really going to benefit when we get it straightened out. And one of the markets that I pay attention to is copper. And the reason is China consumes 48% of the copper in the world. The United States number 2, Germany's number 3. If that tariff is taken off of many areas, that copper demand for China is going to increase. Therefore, that price, I think, has some upside potential that we just haven't seen yet. It's been kind of muted because it's not sure what to do.
And copper is a market with a PhD, right? Because we follow copper as kind of a benchmark on global growth. Now we're seeing slowing growth in Europe. We're seeing pressure on China due to the tariffs. So there's two things to look at with copper, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's a unique metal in that it's a base metal. We don't have a substitution for it. China consumes enough copper every day to wrap a wire around the world 100 times. So the demand that they're going to have is huge if things do lift from these tariffs. And the other metals that we're looking at, the precious metals, you know, the one that I find interesting is the silver market. Now it has taken off, it's stopped to take a breath here. It'll be interesting to see if it can be sustainable. Yeah. But I don't think it has enough excuses to really drive that market at this point.
And it's been disjointed by gold, because gold made a move first and people are expecting them to move together and they haven't.
Yeah, they haven't, that's exactly right, Dan. The gold market, people expect to lead the way, but really, I think, over the last few days, it's really been silver. So, and right now we've seen both of them stop and pause. The issue is it's sustainable. And both of those markets are what I call excuse markets. They need weaker dollar, high inflation, uncertainty in the world, right? Those are the kind of things that drive that marketplace, and I don't really see those out there. So it'll be interesting to see, is it sustainable?
Okay, well that's interesting stuff, and they're all kind of wrapped around with the grains and with China and gold.
Yeah, sure
Dan,
is.
where does someone want to hear more of your analysis? Where do they go to?
You can go to dangramza.com, which is a website. There's a free video that I do every day. It looks at stock indexes, interest rates, metals, energy, currencies, and ag markets. The idea is to show you how someone's looking at these markets. If you've never looked at futures, it may be a place to begin. It's just watch them. For those of you who may be trading futures, like the S&P, it shows you how the relationship of other markets all kind of fit together. Because when we see the stock market moving, that capital flows from something else or to something else. So it's a way for us to get a feel for that and to show you how I would try to identify a trade or manage it. Not suggesting trade recommendations, but the idea is to provide some insight into those markets.
And we know from experience, before you get these markets, you want to hear what Dan has to say about them. Dan, it's been great talking to you again.
Thank you, Dan. Always good to be with you.
All right. This has been Dan Collins coming to you live from Traders Expo Chicago.